Hello and welcome back to Billy Ho Sports. This weekend is Haskell weekend at Monmouth Park. I've already released preview videos on the top two races, which is obviously the Haskell Stakes, and then the UN United Nations is the turf race. That's one of my favorites. So I'm also covering the undercard, so to speak. And today I thought I would just knock them out, maybe just a couple of races at a time. That way the runtime on these videos isn't too long and I can get a more concise selection process. And plus, it kind of worked out that way. So obviously, the Haskell is loaded with graded stakes. And now that we have past performances, and I'm going to get in and do a deep dive. I've watched the races on a couple of these. So we're going to do some selections and some top picks and underneath and all that kind of good stuff for a couple of races here. Races 5 and 6 to be specific, which is the Molly Pitcher and the Matchmaker, respectively. So, obviously, announcements need to be made. Subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, set your notification bell so you don't miss out on anything. Much appreciated. Also, X, formerly Twitter. I'm at Billy Ho Sports. Jump over there and give me a follow. I post all my content, and sometimes during the weekends and racing, I'll post during the day. So if I like one of these other races, one of the allowances or the claimers, I might post it there. So it's always a good idea to follow me on X. Plus, there's tons of other great content providers, handicappers, jockeys, TV personalities, and all that stuff on X. So it's a good idea to be over there and following all that kind of stuff if you are into horse racing like I am. So let's go ahead and get started. Race 5 is the WinStar Matchmaker Stakes. That's a grade 3, 1 mile and an eighth on the turf. Fillies and mares, 3-year-olds and up. This is a fillies theme for this race. I'm doing the two races, and they are the fillies. So I thought that was a good way. This is race 5 and 6. Then there's a break before we get back into stakes action. So it's only logical to lump these two together. Number 1 is Delahaye. That's trained by Chad Brown, Flavian Pratt aboard. 4-year-old filly, 4 wins and 6 starts. What can you say? She won the grade 3 Mint Julep on June 2nd at Churchill Downs. That was 8.5 furlongs on a yielding turf. So it was a little soft that day. Previous to that, in the grade 2 Churchill Downs Distaff, she just wasn't good enough to beat Chili Flag and Coppice, but was a clear by 3 lengths over the 4th place horse. So that's pretty good. Chili Flag and Coppice, 2 very highly ranked filly turf horses. So definitely some tough company there. Next up is Papaleo, trained by Mark Cassie. Jose Ortiz is the rider. Recently won an allowance optional claimer for 80K. Previous to that was 5th in the grade 3 Modesty Stakes on Kentucky Oaks Day back in May. But really, I don't like to do jockey blaming. But one of the things that I do have kind of a preference or a pet peeve on is when jockeys ride these turf races and 2-turn routes for the most part. I'm not counting really the 5.5, the sprints and whatnot, but you don't want to be in between. The inside is not a good spot when you got horses to your outside. They know that, and really you're just rolling the dice to hopefully if the rail comes free or hopefully if horses split that you can get through. But if you're caught, you're stuck and you've lost the race. So that's just kind of what happened to, I think, this horse here in the Modesty, because Javier Castellano stayed inside, and that's when he was forced to steady up and then try to squeeze through late. So, and obviously the slower pace of the race, they went 50 for the half mile, did not help the closer either. So this horse is going to be, I think, a little better than she's shown lately. So that's trainer Mark Cassie. He's always pretty good with the fillies. So I like that one. The next up, Olivia Maralda, and that's trained by young William Walden. Florent Giroux will ride. 4-year-old filly, just edged by Anisette. Uh, Speaking of top turf fillies, that one is up the list. Santa Anita Park, grade one, 9 furlongs, Gamely Stakes on May 27th. Anisette is top 10 in the DRF Philly turf rankings. That was her. This was actually Olivia Moralda. I'll probably mispronounce that once or twice. Second off, a long layoff from 2023. Second start in the United States. She spent her early career in the UK, bouncing between 7 and 8 furlong races. Didn't appear like 9 furlongs was an issue at all since she was gaining ground late. So interesting horse there. Next up, surprisingly for Todd Pletcher and Irad Ortiz on board, 5-year-old male went up against some top fillies in her own right in the grade one New York Stakes. She ran really well. This one went 9.5 furlongs, just a tick farther than we're going to go this weekend. She was on the lead into the stretch, but weakened late. Pratt rode her much better than the previous race when she in the Modesty. She got bumped out of the gate and then wasn't aggressively rode. Got stuck in between horses, had to be steadied, was tossing her head back, and just really kind of a throwaway race for me. And we'll get into the past performances and take a look. So stick around. Pletcher should get a more aggressive approach with the move over to Irad in this one. Now, another Chad Brown entry, my man June. My man June. And I actually had this filly in a previous video, and she did respond with a third place finish in the Eatontown Stakes at Monmouth on June 15th. She had the misfortune of running up against a bit of a snail's pace, 25 opening quarter, 51 for the half mile for a horse that's a stone closer. She had a real strong turn of foot and came within a half length of the winner. So an up and coming horse, but I just don't know if the class is there versus this group. So my man June, I'll be kind of rooting for, but I don't know if my dollars are going to land there. So a quick reminder, summer's heating up. You want to be subscribed to the channel, Billy Ho Sports. You want to click that like button to help the algorithms. Comments are always welcome. And follow me on X at Billy Ho Sports. Let's continue. Sacred Wish, trained by George Weaver, Louis Saez aboard. 4-year-old filly, fourth, and as the post-time favorite in the Eatontown. And like I said, a chance the jockey takes staying inside is that you don't get that rail and you have to steady up like he did this horse, then you lose the race. Saez should have this filly more forwardly placed. I think a better showing is in the cards for Sacred Wish. And now that brings us to our final filly, and that is Butte Catchy, I'm going to call it. Chad Brown. We'll have Frankie Dettori aboard, the Italian high-flying jock. Third in the grade one matriarch back in December at Del Mar. Then came out in April, debuted in the grade one Jenny Wiley, where Dettori got her out front and loose on the front end and just went wire to wire and beat, I believe it was, I want to say White Beam was one of the horses in that race who just recently destroyed the field. So next out, she had Manny Franco piloting in the grade one Just a Game Stakes, checked up, tossing her head about in the first turn, just didn't get out well in that one. I like Dettori riding better than Manny Franco, so I give this horse a much better chance to win the race. So let's jump in to the past performances. All right. So conditions, 1.125 on the turf, Matchmaker grade 3, $300,000 purse. We're going 1.125 on the turf. So Delahaye, obviously number one prime power. So this is where I usually like to start to look to see if there's a significant, like I say 10, 8 probably I start noticing, but 10 plus the difference between the top and the next in the prime power is usually typically a big time difference, but you know that's still a pretty decent prime power difference from Delahaye to Papilio, but I'm going to have a different opinion on that. But I do like Delahaye. It's Chad Brown. I mean, I'm definitely sticking with the Chad Brown theme in this race on the turf. I mean, strongest and the fastest 104 Brisnet number here in the distaff behind Chili Flag and Coppice. That race, after watching that several times, Delahaye was bobbled a little bit inside or bobbled at the start a little bit, but still was able to close very nicely. A horse that can actually be out on the lead and has wire to wire before and been up close. So a little bit of versatility in the last two races. Obviously, Chad Brown rules the roost when it comes to the turf racing. So Flavian Pratt, good patient rider. He's one of the best turf riders out there as well. So this one's got a big chance. I mean, it's really a 1-1A type of thing when it comes to picks on this but sometimes it is the other Chad Brown horse. Now, this is Papilio, and the speed figures aren't quite as good, but definitely some pretty consistent form. Just not that top flight grade 1 stuff, but does have some pretty good grade 3 and other performances out there. Is a closer. Jose Ortiz taking over the duties in for the second consecutive race. Popped first out, so that's kind of interesting. Next up, this one is interesting as well. Is Olivia Moralda, and that's William Walden, who's not, I believe, just I guess, one win in 13 graded stakes. So but he has had several second places. So I think that this one could help kickstart a slow stakes season for Walden. Then you have Surprisingly, I think, which is a solid horse. You can see the triple digit numbers here. Early speed, Pletcher should have Ortiz on the gas as opposed to Pratt, who's just maybe a little bit more of a methodical patient rider. So you got a little bit more aggressive jock in Ortiz to get this horse out there. And I mean, Warlike Goddess, Dadia. I mean, that New York grade 1 was a strong companied race. And like I said, in the Modesty, it was just really a bump start and just never got into the race. So you can see the previous to that, Orchid grade 3, second by a half length to McCulloch. Just Ruby Nell, Dadia, just surprisingly ran second to those. Really strong, classy horse. So Sacred Wish, my man June. That's the only problem with my man June here is I don't think the class is there, but the Eatontown grade 3 was a definitely great race. So I guess that it's coming. See the Stars, solid 2.83 sire production index there. Big lean toward the route racing with the average win distance. So this horse can go. So really, they ought to be looking at this horse, maybe eventually getting up to 12 furlongs would make sense to me there. But it's Chad Brown and it's Vince Chaminad's. He's not a complete slouch at the jock. He's been riding the last 3 and he's got 2 wins in a second. So, should get really juicy odds on that one. But here's Sacred Wish, beaten favorite, but I think could have had a better ride. Just lacked the path to get through because Carmouche didn't have the right angle getting there. So Sacred Wish should show better for George Weaver and Louis Saez aboard. So definitely looking at probably some value there. But this is the one I think I'm going to have the most interest in is Butte Catchy. This obviously Chad Brown, Frankie Dettori. You can see this race here. The Jenny Wiley got loose on the lead and they just couldn't catch her at 25-1. But Dettori back in the saddle. I think that's the horse that this one likes. I mean, it's got good stakes. Won the Violet, the Athena ran second, solid, and some just middling results over overseas in France. But I think this horse is on a come up. I think the Just the Game was a toss for me. That was Chili Flag and White Beam, but she's run against just as good. Fluffy Socks, is a obviously a solid one as well. So she's got some back class here. So let's take a look real quick. Let's see. So we don't have enough track bias stats to really tell us anything, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say the early uh, pressing speed, I don't think it's going to cater much to closers. So that's why I don't know that a horse like moving back up here. I think the pressers will be okay, but I like the early pressers like Delahaye, horses that can be up closer to the lead. I want that horse that's going to be right there within 2-3 lengths at this point in the race, the stretch call. So second by a half, 1.5, things of that nature. Papillo, you don't want to be 4 and you don't want to be, see, she's still kind of close. She's within 2 lengths there, pretty close to the lead. So that's why I like her in this mix as well. So let's finalize our selections. Okay, I'm going to give the nod to number 7, Butte Catchy. Her speed figures look a little bit lower than that of like Delahaye and surprisingly, but I like Frankie Dettori. I like the outside post. I think he's amazing. Dettori is just amazing with that late timing. I think that he's going to get there at the end. I like Flavian Pratt, also a great tactician. Should have Delahaye in contention there. Jose Ortiz had Papillo, like I said, up close in her last. So I think if she gets into the low 90s for the speed figure, she'll be closing late for a piece. So I'm going 7, 1, 2, 4 for the selections in the race 5. And that's the WinStar Matchmaker. Let's jump over to race 6, and that's going to be the grade 3 Molly Pitcher. 1 mile and a 16th on the dirt, 3-year-old fillies and mares. Up. So Kathleen O, trained by Shug McGahee, Vincent Chaminade rides. This one won going 1.70 in the slop at Monmouth in the Serena Song Stakes. Simply hasn't shown the speed she had as a 3-year-old, and then her early 4-year-old races. She had her first 6 races. She had an average 97 Brisnet speed figure, triple digits, and anywhere from 92 to 97, a couple of 99s in there, 2 wins and 3 seconds, and 5 out of 6. So her last race was an 87 in that Serena Song. So that's the best since April of 2023. McGahee didn't said that the time she spent in Florida, and we'll review that in the past performances, was not good for her. It was really benefited to get her back over to Churchill Downs, back in some cooler air, back eating that Kentucky bluegrass, and then got her over and getting her on the right track again. Frosty O'Toole, trained by Michael Denny and Joe Bravo, rides. I think her inability to compete versus even weaker than this recent races, below average speed. I'm not going to go too deep into Frosty O'Toole. Just Catherine. You'll see why in a minute. This race is going to be not that exciting, I don't think. Just Catherine, trained by Jose Jimenez, Javier Castellano. Big 101 Brisnet number in her last race. And it was a strong second place showing, grade 2 race, Bed of Roses, Aqueduct on June 15th. The 4-year-old filly by Justify has the pedigree. She's also cross-entered in the grade 2 Chuvy at Saratoga on Sunday. So would be an interesting value play in this one, but probably a better chance to win the race going on Sunday if they chose to do that. Soul of an Angel is trained by Safi Joseph Jr. Ired Ortiz gets to ride. 5-year-old won the grade 2 Ruffian Stakes 2 back, but then didn't show much at all in the grade 1 Ogden Phipps at Saratoga. It did face off against Idiomatic in that race and Randomized, who was the upset winner of that. So Idiomatic is going to be tough to beat going 2 turns. So I just don't see Soul of an Angel getting that done. Misty Vale, trained by Mike Maker, has Ramon Vasquez jockey. Strong 8 length victory in the Lady Jacqueline on June 22nd out at Thistledown. She's great in most stakes races, uh, and probably a second or third choice in this one. But she's also cross entered in the Grade 2 Chevy at Saratoga on Sunday, which looks like a better chance for her to win, I think. But it is a tougher overall field, I would say. But with just probably one horse that's probably more superior to her in this one, which is our next one, Idiomatic, the number one ranked dirt filly, older filly in the nation, according to DRF. Trained by Brad Cox, Florent Giroux rides again. Flo Go has rode this one just to all the wins, multiple grade 1 wins. She ran off 6 straight victories in a row dating back to June of last year, then was recently upset by randomized in the grade 1 Ogden Phipps. She got off, I think, a little bit wonky. Was an unsettled break, I think, is how they described it. But she hit the stretch, but a randomized was allowed to stay on the lead without a whole lot of pressure, and just had a whole ton of horse left for the stretch drive. So they hit the stretch together and duked it out. And Idiomatic was unable to run down randomized. Randomized is no joke, by the way. Just lost by a nose to Idiomatic in last fall's Breeders' Cup Distaff. So randomized, a formidable opponent in her own right. Now, the last one is pretty much a toss. Miles of Smiles, number 7, trained by Joe Orseno and Carlos Hernandez rides. Couple of low-level wins at Monmouth, but not really a threat to this group, in my opinion. So we're going to jump over to past performances and kind of just make this a quick one. So pretty much what I was telling you, that's 11 higher on the old Prime Power. So that makes you take notice right away. Idiomatic is far and above. These are more like your grade 2s and grade 3s, even though they have run, like this one ran 5th in the Kentucky Oaks, Kathleen O. But you can see all the 99s. Look at her first 6 races: 92, 97, 99, 99, 96, 101. Then the grade 2 Ruffian on May 6th of 23, going a mile, and just runs an 81, got beat by 15 lengths. That was the switch over from after Castellano rode him to Carmouche. So Castellano goes back on, but no improvement. It's like I think she's better at 2 turns, is what I think, because they ran her at 6. They ran her at a mile. They ran her at a mile at Gulfstream and just didn't do anything. Then got the mile in 70, back on the winning track. So Stone Closer, definitely a sneaky play, I think, but not for the win. Could be like a straight Stone Cold Exacta, especially if you get a couple of defections. Frosty O'Toole, complete toss. 4th in the Lady Jacqueline, got beat by 11 lengths. I mean, different jockeys every time down the line here. Low-level trainer, low-level jockey. No thanks. Just Catherine, this was the one, second by a neck, 101 speed figure. Couple of triple-digit Brisnets, 98s, 96s. Good, not really so good in the grade 1s, but this is a grade 3 race, so grade 3 company, aside from Idiomatic. So Just Catherine is there. Obviously, Soul of an Angel, 3rd in Prime Power, big monster 106 in this Ruffian win at a mile. So I don't know really what that means for going 2 turns. Did go to the Saffie Joseph barn, does have Irad Ortiz aboard. So sneaky. Underneath play, Misty Vale could defect. Big win, though. So this one would be one of the prime contenders. I think the 1 and the 5 feel like the prime contenders to Idiomatic. But when you look at the figures, it's just not even close. I mean, it's 3 straight triple digits culminating in a 106 Brisnet in the personal ensign grade 1 at Saratoga back in August. just walking the dog, uh, beating horses like Secret Oath, who won the Oaks, Nest, you know, beat defeated randomized, even though randomized turned the table. Uh, kind of like a couple of fillies that raced last year that escapes my they bounce back and forth, beating each other. So Idiomatic, far and above the best horse here. I think we'll definitely avenge that Ogden Phipps loss quite easily. Miles of Smiles, you can see just 30,000, 16K OCs. That's no, just no class for this one. So just in it, I think just maybe local connections. So that is going to cover it. We do have 16 races with some bias, and you can see that the early pressing dominate most of it. Not really any rail bias or anything like that. So let's see what we got for final selections. Okay, race 6, Molly Pitcher. It's a single. Like if you're playing a pick 5, pick 3, pick 4, whatever this race falls into, uh, just single idiomatic and be done with it. You can use the 3, 4, and 5 underneath, but if the two entered Sunday at the SPA decide to go there, this race becomes pretty much useless. You could try to throw out some straight exactas, maybe. It'll be really tough to go from there. But anyway, that's going to do it. Races 5 and 6 for Haskell Saturday in honor of the ladies. So I'll be back. I'll be back soon with more racing analysis. We've got other undercard races. Plus, we still haven't finalized the Haskell, which is going to be the feature race, and the United Nations. I previewed both of those races already, just with race replays and opinions and just kind of some background profiling. So check that out before you watch the next video, which will be past performances. We'll kind of review who's in, who made the race and who didn't, and then we'll go from there. Make some selections, try to make some money. So the only way you're going to make that money is if you are A, subscribe to the channel, and B, smashing that like button, because I'll know if you don't do it. And C, set your notification bells. That way you don't miss any of the action. And jump over to X and give me a follow at Billy Ho Sports. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you soon.